So, John, what thing do you do obsessively?
What do I do obsessively? There's a fair few, I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
I mean, I've kind of probably stopped noticing most of them. I've lived alone for a very long time.
Yeah.
There were definitely moments when I watched this movie when I was like, well, it's not how I live my life.
Wow, I've never thought of you as similar to Jack Nicholson before.
Well, a lot of people have said it.
Is it the hairline?
Very good, Harry. You had to get it in there, didn't you?
Some films are fine just the way they are. Other films sometimes take it way too far. But really, how bad could it get? Let's go beyond the box set.
Welcome, everybody, to Beyond the Box Set, the podcast where today we are pitching prequels, sequels, and spin-off ideas to As Good As It Gets. We'll also be pitching some drinking games and hearing from our listeners with the ideas they have posted on our social media pages. But first, we're going to talk about some of our favourite moments from the original movie and catch you up with a bit of a plot summary. I am Harry, the host with the most hard-hitting insults.
Don't I know it?
And joining me as always, he's not even worth insulting, it's John Lucas.
Oh, I am red to fill.
So, as good as it gets then.
Yes,
This is your choice.
it was my choice.
What do you think? Have you seen it before?
I have, yeah. I've seen it a few times, yeah. I can't remember why I picked it. That's not an insult. I don't mean that because it's terrible. It's not. I actually quite enjoying the movie, but I can't remember why I thought this was the one to watch this week.
Okay.
I think just because we are now almost 200 episodes deep.
Yeah.
And it is harder on weeks when there's not a theme just to be like, oh, I don't know that. I don't know.
I mean, we were kind of doing a Robin Williams film, but the theme, but whatever.
Yeah, I kind of went off with that, didn't I?
You did, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I know you mentioned beforehand that you wanted something a bit more watchable because you hadn't really loved the last couple of things that I'd selected. So I don't know. I think it just popped into my head. I was like, yeah, I feel like that's watchable and fun.
How did this become like a super watchable, enjoyable time?
I know what you mean. Well, I mean, I'd forgotten certain things, but it's. I don't know. I felt like it was an easy watch. It's like, oh, it won some Oscars. It's a rom-com.
What did it win?
It actually won. It was nominated for like 8 Oscars. It was a big player that year. It won Best Actor and Best Actress.
Really?
It is the most recent time, this has never happened since, that Best Actor and Best Actress have both come from the same movie.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, very rare.
Yeah, fair enough.
He got the acting sweep. He didn't win, but even Greg Kinnear, who played the gay guy, got nominated for Best Supporting Actor. So it was a huge, swept all the acting Oscars basically, apart from Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah.
It got nominated for Best Picture. It lost to Titanic.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a bit of a controversial one.
Oh, that's why it came up, because same year as Good Will Hunting.
Yes,
And I was looking at the awards.
I knew there was a reason. Yeah, yes, it was the same year as Good Will Hunting, so it was a little bit controversial because it was a bit of a Green Book. Not that it's as bad as Green Book, but I mean we'll discuss. But but it was one of those like crowd-pleasing films that isn't really saying anything particularly, but it makes people smile, and then it won Oscars over other much more famous films. Like, Helen Hunt beat Kate Winslet. She also beat, who from Titanic. Yeah. She also beat Judi Dench in that film Mrs. Brown, where she played Queen Victoria, which everyone thought Judi Dench was going to win, and it was a big upset that Helen Hunt won that year. And everyone was like, "Oh, it's because she's American," and who knows? I think Jack Nicholson. Everyone was like, "Yeah, he's going to win."
Yeah,
but I think Helen Hunt's win was a bit of a surprise.
Okay,
and it's quite controversial to this day that she won. But it was kind of. It's your classic 90s Oscar bait. It's like not really particularly saying anything about the world. It's just quite middlebrow. It's nice, kind of like Forrest Gump.
Yeah,
he's like a mean Forrest Gump. I think that's kind of one way to describe this movie.
That is
he's
definitely
a
way to
mean
describe
Forrest
this.
Gump.
Yeah,
with a much younger girlfriend.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think?
See, I don't know. Like, I think of this film the same way that the characters in this film think of Jack Nicholson's character. They all hate him, but there's just something about him.
it just sneaks up on you a lot. Yeah. Much as you hate to admit it. Yeah, you get.
Yeah. I was never bored.
Good.
In this 2.5 hour movie.
Well, I'm glad that's something, because I know you didn't feel that way about The Fisher King. So
yeah, I was completely in on this movie. Like,
good. Okay.
The first few minutes really turned me off. but somehow it just stayed. I think it's just because it's ridiculous and bad in such a way that I just got a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Sure. I mean, Jack Nicholson's never not watchable. Wherever he's in, he's worth watching.
Sure,
So,
yeah. But this was largely just like, oh, this is extremely inappropriate for so many reasons.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Yes. It's
But also in a way that like the film wasn't. It didn't look like the film was necessarily trying to be inappropriate. It just naturally was in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I think a lot.
And also, he was a horrible man. The character.
Yeah, I don't think this film would get made today.
Definitely not.
No, it would end differently.
Yeah.
So, but I know what you mean. Yeah. No, I think the first watching it back this week, and it's been a while since I've watched it, and I kind of came at it with mildly, just it could go either way. I really loved like the first hour, and I was like, oh, this is really a lot more charming. And and I agree, there's lots of questionable moments.
I did not like the first hour only because I was constantly just like, oh my God, where is this going? I don't like where this is going. And I had so many ideas in my head of where it was going. I was like, is this going to be a film about Greg Kinnear, who's like really happy with his life and everything, having parties and stuff? Yeah. But then this horrible old man across the corridor just comes in and ruins his life. Like
he gets his dog away.
Yeah, like he gets beaten to a pulp. He steals his dog's love, like the only thing that he's got left. And like, I don't want to watch the journey to get to this story. This isn't going to be fun. And it kind of does that.
It does a bit. Well, I mean, I knew where it was going.
Yeah. But like the scene when him and Greg Kinnear are sat on the couch together, and Jack Nicholson sort of takes pity in one of the rare moments in this, and says like, you know how I got the dog to love me? I've got bacon in my pocket.
Yeah.
And he gives Greg Kinnear the bacon. The dog still goes for Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, this is what I didn't want to watch.
Just this poor man being ground down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I found the first hour to be very charming and interesting and good character dynamics. And then when it pivoted into just being a love story, I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember having...
I saw it coming right away. Just like the first scene that him and Helen Hunt have, just straight away I was like, oh God, no, what's the age difference here? Like I knew that...
26 years.
Yeah, I know. I looked it up. Like obviously I knew that they were both in it.
Yeah.
But, you just by knowing two people who are in a film, you don't know that they're going to have a romance. But just their first scene, just like, I know it's coming. Oh God, no. And that's another thing where I was just kind of dreading where this movie was going. And that's what kept it really interesting.
Sure.
Was that there were these things that I was dreading, and I was like waiting to see, like, is it going to go that horrible route or that horrible route or this horrible route? And it kind of went all, but like not so extremely.
Sure. So it wasn't going anywhere good, but you were enjoying the ride. You were intrigued by the ride.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of that is deliberate writing of the film, and the majority of it is not.
Sure. I just think it would have been a better film if he hadn't ended up with her.
Yeah.
It was like...
Because there's a scene, which we will get to in the plot summary, there's a scene where she shows up at his door and has a conversation that ends in, I'm not going to sleep with you. Not now, not ever. And then
the boob scene.
Yeah. And then he has a look on his face that in that scene, I was very much given the film the benefit of the doubt. And I took that look to mean sort of like, oh, I'm hurt by that because you thought that that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
But then, oh, no, he was thinking
that. Was, of course. Yeah. It's a shame because up until...
It could have been like a really smart film that sort of subverted your expectations if like that was never his intention.
Yeah.
But no.
It felt like someone in the making of this film decided, oh no, but they have to end up together. I know it doesn't make any sense for these characters. And there's no way she would make that decision. Why would she do that to herself?
It's the bit towards the end when she's like, oh, why can't I just have a normal boyfriend? And I'm like, and he says the words like boyfriend. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. You're 60.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody at the age of 60 is anyone's boyfriend.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, we'll probably touch this again on the plot. So, but then her mum comes out and says, yeah, you'll do no better. Yeah. This is good. This is as good as it gets. Like, in many ways, this is a very sad film.
Her mum, who I looked up the actor, 59 at that point.
Yeah, she'll be more suitable to date him. Yeah, that would have been a good compromise.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
He gets laid. The kid gets to keep the medical. Helen Hunt's free. There you go. Yes. in some ways, this film is a very sad film about a tragically lonely woman just being ground down and negged so much that she ends up fancying 60-year-old Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
At his most gross and racist. Like,
because he gave her money.
Because he gave. I mean, the dynamics in this film are problematic. Like,
they talk about it though.
They do. They do talk about it, and they're open about it in many ways. But yeah. I think. Would you agree that the acting is what saves this film in many ways?
I guess. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it because I didn't really find it to be stand out enough. Mm-hmm. But I guess I was quite sold on the characters.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, like I said,
I didn't get to the end of this film and think, oh my god, this needs all the Oscars.
Sure. No.
It didn't even cross my mind.
No, it was like I said, it's one of those films that just won Oscars because they just got swept up on things.
Yeah,
but it happens. Yeah, I mean, Jack Nicholson, one of the all-time great movie stars. Mm-hmm. Whenever you talk about him, you just know he's going to be a good time. Mm-hmm. He's gonna make the worst character alive, which in many ways this character is. He's going to make him at least watchable.
Yeah.
Do you realize that I work at home?
No, I wasn't aware.
Do you like to be interrupted when you are nancing around in your little garden?
No. I actually will turn the ringer off of my phone and sometimes put a piece of cardboard.
Well, I work all the time. So never interrupt me, okay? Not if there's a fire. Not even if you hear the sound of a thud from my home, and 1 week later, there's a smell coming from there that can only be a decaying human body. And you have to hold a hanky to your face because the stench is so thick that you think you're gonna faint. Even then, don't come knocking.
So, As Good as It Gets, released in 1997, a massive hit. It made over 150 million in America, I think, and probably about 300 million worldwide.
Well, okay.
Power of Jack Nicholson. As mentioned, it was nominated for many Oscars, and it won for Best Actor, Best Actress, maybe Best Screenplay. No. Good Will Hunting won Best Screenplay. It definitely won both. It definitely won both the acting ones, beating out a lot of big stars. He beat Leonardo DiCaprio. She beat Kate Winslet. It was a big success that year. So it stars Jack Nicholson as Melvin. I forget the surname, doesn't matter. But Melvin is a obsessive compulsive, misanthropic, racist, sexist, all the isms. Yeah. Generally a not very pleasant man.
No.
Living in upstate New York in a big apartment building, which he shares with Greg Kinnear, who is
shares part of the building.
He shares the building. Yeah, they don't live together. They live in the same building, different apartments.
Yeah.
But Greg Kinnear is a gay. Mm-hmm. He's a 90s gay. He's a 90s movie gay, which means he never has sex, and he just dresses flamboyantly, and he has a cute little dog. Mm-hmm. And the film opens with setting the scene of Jack Nicholson's character right away. Mm-hmm. He is pushing a cute little terrier down a garbage chute.
I mean, just to go back just a quick sec, did you want Greg Kinnear's character to have anything more in this film?
No, not at all.
I thought he had a very good character arc in this.
No, he's perfectly fine. No, I'm just saying it's a very 90s... It's a very 90s gay character, that's all. Yeah. Which is not a bad thing. It's just that's just what it is.
Just to talk about people being gay but not showing it.
Yeah, kind of. Just like it's a straight actor playing gay to prove he can do range. He's so brave. And yeah, his character is basically there to teach Jack Nicholson some valuable life lessons. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's fine. I wasn't offended by it. It was perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. But yes, Jack Nicholson. The first scene, he catches Greg Kinnear's dog, Verdell. Is it Verdell? Yeah, something like that.
I'd call it the dog.
The dog, yeah. And to be fair, the dog is wandering around the apartment and just peeing all over the walls. So I was kind of like, you are justifiably annoyed by this.
Yeah.
I mean, he does then push the dog down the garbage chute, which is a bit extreme.
Yeah.
But it sets up who this character is. Yeah.
So, this is where the film first turned me off.
Okay.
Not because of...
the dog abuse.
Not specifically because of the dog abuse, but just the way the film framed it. Mm-hmm. Because from there, you just then hear the sound effects of the dog just like bouncing down the garbage chute with little barks each time. Mm-hmm. And it was definitely played for jokes.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I was completely turned off by that. I was just like, no, I'm just laughing at this dog dying.
Did you really think the dog was dead?
Well, I didn't think it was going to fare particularly well, but getting thrown down a garbage chute from halfway up a skyscraper.
True, yeah. I don't know how many stories there were. It seemed like it was fine, but
yeah, it almost felt cartoonish.
Yeah, a lot of this film was cartoonish. I mean, we get so many doggy reaction shots in this film. Like
They were brilliant, yeah.
They are. It's a very cartoonish film in that way, but yeah,
It's a very, very well trained dog.
it certainly was. Yeah, I don't know how they did that, but yes, I agree. Like it would have been a much darker opening if it's like the next scene was Greg Kinnear being presented with his dog's corpse. Like we found your dog, it's dead.
Yeah.
It's horrendously injured. But no, he throws the dog down the garbage chute, and yes, it turns out that he is this obsessive compulsive guy who lives on his own, writes romance novels inexplicably. I guess he has to have some way of making money without leaving the house.
Yeah.
But he doesn't get on with his neighbors at all. Everyone hates him, and his only pleasure in life seems to be his daily visit to his local cafe or diner, where he sits in the same table every day, eats with plastic cutlery, and racially abuses anyone who happens to be sitting at his table.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Helen Hunt is introduced as the waitress who works at this cafe. She's called Carol, and she seems to be the only one who kind of tolerates him.
Yeah.
Like everyone else hates him, and she kind of tolerates him.
I never understood why.
No, it made her seem like a bad person.
Yeah.
Because he walks in and like abuses two Jews.
Yeah.
And he like, really like hurls this awful anti-Semitic abuse out. It was like, oh, your appetite's not as big as your nose. Then like really bad stuff. Like, and the cafe owner is like, right, that's it, he's out, he's barred. I'm like, yep, hell yeah, he should be out. And she's like, no, it's all right, give him another chance, it's fine, give him one more chance. And then she's just kind of like, well, if you do that again, you are gonna have to leave. And
and then in the same conversation, I forget exactly how it comes up, but then he says like, your son's gonna die or something.
Well, that was quite a strong moment.
It was
from her reaction. It's not like she was just like, oh, whatever, sure.
Yeah, totally. But her reaction was still not to say like, get out.
No, true. Yeah.
It was like, I'll give you one more chance.
Yeah.
Like, you got one more chance, and then you're out. But like, you said that about 5 minutes ago when you just insulted those Jewish people. And then he goes and insults them again on the way out.
Yeah, I feel like Helen Hunt's character may be a secret racist. And she kind of like, she's not going to abuse people herself, but she kind of gets a kick out of him being abusive to people. Yeah. And it brightens up her day, which is otherwise pretty boring. This is my theory. I don't know. Like, I'm sure that's not what the movie wants us to think, but that was my only explanation for why she tolerates him. Yeah. It's like, well, it's fun for me as a white chick, I'll listen to this and then serve him some food. But yes, she serves him the same meal every day. And
you know what's weird about it? Okay. Is that later on in the film, when Helen Hunt's no longer working there, and somebody kicks him out, and then the entire restaurant of people, they all burst into applause. Yeah. And he's only just walked in there in this scene, which means that everybody in that restaurant is also a regular, just like him. Sure. Which means that when he comes in and he insults random people, he's insulting regulars.
Maybe, yeah. Well, maybe that Jewish couple who was sat on the table, you'd think the regulars, if they are all regulars, would know, okay, don't sit at Melvin's table because Melvin's going to abuse us. Yeah. So maybe like they will just walk in, but most people are used to his bullshit every day. That probably makes sense. So, yeah.
God, people shouldn't put up with people like this.
No, I agree. It's weird.
Like it actually annoyed me, like watching it. Just like, why, Helen Hunt? Why are you putting up with him? Why are you why are you forcing other people to put up with him?
Did it give you like flashbacks to when you worked in a pub? Yeah. It's like how quickly you would have barred this person.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, she seems to have some kind of soft spot for him anyway. But he does totally blow it when he makes this very unpleasant comment about her son, because he's overheard her talking about her very sick son and how sweet he is and all that stuff. And she makes some quip because he orders this ridiculously big breakfast, and she's like, you keep it like that, you're gonna die soon. He's like, well, your son's gonna die first or something, and like just horrible. Yeah. And she really, and it's a good scene. Like she takes it very, she really takes a moment and she's really like furious about it, and she says, if you ever speak of my son again. And it seems like he somewhat like takes it in.
He heard her on
he hears it and he accepts it. Like he is very clearly being painted as being maybe autistic, or I mean it's the 90s, they wouldn't really diagnose it, but like it's clear that he's not, he definitely has genuine psychological issues. Like, so I think Jack Nicholson plays that quite well as well, where it's not just like he's just walking around being mean to people. Like the way he physically plays the character, where like when he is insulted, he kind of goes in on himself and he starts like going very, his body language becomes very introverted, and he doesn't make eye contact or anything. So you can tell that he's like not really able to process it, but he kind of on some level knows he's done something wrong, basically. Yeah, so she gives him this big dressing down, but she does ultimately give him his meal. Yeah. But then he clearly feels a little bit guilty, and the next time he's in, he asks her some sincere questions. He's like, what is actually wrong with your son? Yeah. And then they have a slight little bond over that. Like she says, look, he's got terrible asthma, and because it's New York City, we don't have any medical insurance, so he's dealing with terrible doctors and nobody knows what to help him with, and we have to go to the emergency room like 8 times a month or something. So like she just opens up to him a little bit, and and that establishes their relationship a little bit. So that's the one plot line that they've got running through it. And the other plot line is his relationship with his gay neighbor, played by Greg Kinnear, who's like an artist. And so he's the owner of this dog that gets flushed down the chute. And then the dog is rescued by the janitor at a certain point while Greg Kinnear is having an art show in his apartment. Did you notice his shirt and how ridiculous it was?
Or the lack of?
Yeah, it was like this purple blouse that like went right down to his belly button. It was, it was so. It was such like, oh, this is how like straight directors thought gay people dressed in the 90s. It's just like, oh, we'll just make him wear these ridiculous clothes. But anyway, he gets his dog back and he immediately figures out that, of course, it must have been Melvin who shot him down the garbage chutes. Yeah. So he kind of goes to confront him, and then Melvin is horribly homophobic to him and just abuses him back. But then his agent boyfriend, this undefined relationship.
This was what on earth was this?
I think just friend. I think just like friend / business partner or like manager, whatever.
Yeah, I think it was like agent who is just a bit too close.
Yeah,
but like as the film kind of went on, I didn't get the impression that they'd ever had like a physical relationship.
No, certainly not. No.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, there were a lot of characters in this when I was like, well, I'm enjoying you, but I don't know who you are to the other characters.
Yeah.
Because like Yardley Smith, Lisa Simpson as well, I was like, I'm enjoying your performance. You're a lot of fun in this, but what's your relationships to these characters?
And then she disappears.
And then she just vanishes. Yeah. She had a voiceover to do.
Yeah, I thought that she was like his sister or something. Like I thought that she was going to be somebody like close to him.
Yeah, I thought like, she's a accountant. But unclear. Yeah.
I just don't know. But these are the two people closest to him, so that when he
Cuba Gooding Jr. and Yardley Smith.
So that when he has his unfortunate incident, they're the two people in hospital who are like, here's a mirror, look at your face.
Yeah. So
another scene which I thought was terribly directed.
I thought that scene was quite fun though.
Yeah, but it shouldn't have been fun. The scene finishes with this guy who's got a completely mashed up face. He looks in a mirror and says, "Oh, where did I go?"
Yeah.
Like, it's a really hard-hitting thing. And then this is a common thing in this film, that it gets to like a big emotional scene and then it cuts just a bit too soon.
Sure. It doesn't
and
really linger
this was one of them. It didn't linger on the scene when it got sad, that like he's sad about his face being ruined.
Yeah, well, I think this film is very much a comedy. But it's a comedy with like dramatic elements.
Yeah,
but I feel like the director was like, "Oh, can't get too real. Like, we'll go there and then we'll pull it straight back again." So yeah. It doesn't always work. It definitely like there are moments when the tonal balance shifts a little bit too far one way or the other. Yeah, but I know what you mean. But yes, so Greg Kinnear is having an art show, and his agent friend, whatever, Cuba Gooding Jr. And he actually after Melvin insults Greg Kinnear, Cuba Gooding Jr. kind of grabs him and gives him a big dressing down and threatens him and says, "Look, you're going to find a way to repay him, and you're not going to treat him like this anymore."
Yes,
clearly he's been a horrible neighbor for a long time. So that all happens, and then a few days later, Greg Kinnear's character is brutally beaten and robbed by half the cast of Scream. Did you notice that? Because you've watched Scream recently, right? Yeah. Like it's Skeet Ulrich who plays the killer, and Jamie Kennedy who plays the friend.
I didn't remember Jamie Kennedy being in it, but yeah.
The first Scream,
I don't remember who Jamie Kennedy is.
He's the redhead. In Scream, he's the one who like knows all about the movies. He's like the character who keeps breaking the fourth wall.
Right. Okay.
And he was also also one of the rent boys in this.
Yeah.
I just thought it was weird that it was both of them, and it's 1997, which I'm pretty sure is the year that Scream was shot. Was it like were they just both like in town that day, but they weren't shooting Scream? So we'll do a cameo in Good as It Gets while we're here. Sure, yeah. But they must have been on the same lot or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they are, again, just strange plotting. So Greg Kinnear's character he's an artist, and he paints a lot of like life, like what's it called? People. Yes. No. It's a life drawing. It's a specific kind of art. He does a lot of life drawing.
Yeah.
And he needs models all the time. And so there's a weird scene where he's his agent, I guess, rather than hire any of the thousands of out of work actors who would have been floating around New York at any given time, he just hires some meth heads or some rent boys.
Pretty much, yeah.
I don't know what they were supposed to be, but they were clearly unsavory characters.
Yeah.
And he hires Skeet Ulrich to go around to visit him the next day and to pose as a model. And then Greg Kinnear draws him, but while he's drawing him, it's all a distraction. So the other two criminals could break into the flat and steal everything.
Yeah.
But then he interrupts them. The dog's no fucking help.
Yeah.
And not for the last time. The dog is no help, and he gets beaten to within an inch of his life.
Yeah.
And he's horribly beaten, left for dead. And then we see, I think Melvin calls the ambulance. I think we find out, but like off screen. And then he ends up in the hospital, Greg Kinnear. And then the scene you were talking about where Yardley Smith shows up and is just like, don't look, and just like, worst bedside manner ever.
And like Cuba Gooding Jr.'s reaction to his face,
Yeah.
it's entirely comedic, and it just didn't land for me at all.
I don't mean because he's been horribly beaten up.
Because like the film it's not a straight comedy.
No,
it's got a lot more drama to it, and it already does have a lot more drama to it. I mean, you see him getting beaten up to within an inch of his life.
Yeah.
And then you see his face afterwards, and it is not nice to look at.
No, true.
And Cuba Gooding Jr.'s reaction to it is just...
Yeah.
I know it really didn't land with me, and I feel like it ruins the whole scene. And Yardley Smith wasn't much better.
No, I can see what you mean. Yeah, I feel like it's a hard line to.
And like
walk
some of the jokes, they were funny.
Yeah.
When she was like, "Oh, I think I've got a smaller mirror actually."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like it is a funny joke, but at the same time, it's like, nah, this guy's. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I quite enjoyed it just because of the terrible bedside manner of it all. Like you're right,
Yeah.
it is coming from a very sad scene, and he's obviously been.
I mean, at this point, I think I was also confused as to who these people were.
Yeah,
And I had it in my head that like, oh, that's like his sister or something, and that's his boyfriend. I was like, why are his sister and boyfriend reacting like this?
What is it better that it's his agent and his accountant?
It's not a lot better.
No, sure.
How you doing, great one?
I haven't looked at myself yet. I figured I could tell from your reaction. That bad, huh?
Okay, I talked to the doctor and okay, it's not that bad. I talked to the doctors and they say you're gonna be your old self in a couple of weeks. I mean, the scars here might take a little. Oh shit!
Anyway, so he's been horribly beaten up and he needs some time to recuperate. And so while he's recuperating, he needs somebody to look after his dog.
Yeah.
And so Cuba Gooding Jr. decides in all of his wisdom that the way that Melvin is going to pay Greg Kinnear back for how bad of a neighbor he's been is that he is going to now look after the dog.
Yeah.
So he gets the dog kind of forced upon him. And then we get some quite sweet scenes of him basically falling in love with the dog. And the dog melts his cold, cold heart.
Yeah.
Seemingly overnight.
Yeah. And like when that happens, when that story first starts, I'm like, oh, so this is the film. So we set him up as like
Yes.
Scrooge, and then the dog's going to show him like how to be a good person again and stuff like that. Nope.
Yeah, just fast forwards.
Nope.
Yeah.
It skips over that completely, and he's not much better. He likes a dog.
He's
now.
just a horrible man who likes dogs. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
That's not really a huge journey for him.
No.
Yeah. I agree. The real love story should have been him and the dog. That would
Yeah.
have been much more compelling. But,
Yeah.
yeah. But he does fall in love with the dog. But then Greg Kinnear gets better again and takes the dog back. And then Melvin is very upset by that, and he keeps it to himself. But he goes back and he's feeling really glum, and he has a bit of a cry in his apartment. And then to make himself feel better, he goes to the cafe again, is the diner, but Helen Hunt is not there.
Yeah.
She's not working that day. And that upsets him even more because he's already having a bad day. So he abuses.
Well, you've not yet mentioned that he's got OCD.
Oh, I thought that was implied. Yeah, he very much has OCD. Yeah, so he always needs things to be the same. So the fact that she's not there is also it disorients her and it makes him uncomfortable. Yeah. And the new waitress doesn't understand why he uses plastic cutlery, so she says all the wrong things. And then he just says some horrible things about her. I think he calls it Elephant Girl or something. And he's very abusive to her, and he ends up shouting. And then the restaurant owner finally just bars him out. And that's the scene that you mentioned earlier, where basically he gets kicked out, and the entire restaurant gives him like standing ovation of him being kicked out, like just applauds and cheers. Like, so clearly he's just the most hated man in this restaurant, in this community, basically. But he bribes one of the diner staff to tell him what Helen Hunt's surname is in the movie. And then he finds her home address and basically goes to her apartment and says, I need you to cook for me because the restaurant won't. And she is understandably horrified by this new development, you know. Kicks him out, tells him to go away after I think he says something to his son, and she's like, no, this is too weird, go away, I'm not having this whatsoever. So yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about Helen Hunt's life, I guess. So she's got this sick son, and then there's a scene early on where she establishes that she's not had a boyfriend or a partner for a long time, and she goes on this date, the first date she's been on in ages. For some reason, I guess they go out for some drinks or whatever you would do on a first date, but then for some reason they go back to her place, which I think was
Go back to his.
clearly the mistake, unless his
Yeah.
place has got a wife in it or something.
Yeah.
Like that was like my only explanation. They go back to her place where her mother is literally in the next room listening to music, so she doesn't hear them having sex. It's a tiny little New York apartment, and then the son wakes up and has like a coughing and vomiting fit, and she goes and like helps him and gets a bucket for him, and then she's got vomit all over her, and then she ends up accidentally putting vomit on the boyfriend, and the boyfriend's like, "No, this is too real. It's a Friday night. I can't deal with this."
Yeah.
Taxi leaves. So this has established her deep, deep loneliness.
Yeah.
So anyway, so then Melvin turns up at the house. She kicks him out, and then her son has some kind of asthma episode or attack or something where she has to race him to the hospital. So she ends up jumping in a taxi with Melvin to get to the hospital. And this kind of gives him an idea because he realizes that her entire life is her son. And as long as she's looking after him, she'll never go back to the job, or she'll never give the job her full attention.
Yeah.
So without asking her, he then, using his book money and his connections, I guess,
Using his white male privilege.
using his white male privilege, absolutely, he pays for proper medical care for her son. So a doctor just turns up at the house and just diagnoses him, gives him some blood tests, gives her his home number. So he's going to get fully taken care of now. And she's overwhelmed with gratitude, but she's also very apprehensive because she's like, what does he want from all this?
Yeah.
And she's very scared that what he wants might be sex.
Yeah.
And I thought this was a really good dynamic.
Yeah.
If she doesn't end up having sex with him at the end.
Yeah.
It really ruins it.
Yeah.
It really so ruins it. But yes, at this point in the film, she's horrified by that notion, as she well should be. And so she goes around to his apartment in the middle of the night. And, this is probably one of the most scene that's used in clips most often. She walks through New York in the rain in like a tiny little blouse or whatever you'd call that, little t-shirt, tank top thing. And it's the middle of the night. And then she knocks on his door. And by the time she knocks on his door, her shirt is translucent.
Yes.
It's transparent. It's just her boobs are just. She's basically topless. Like
Yeah.
And then she knocks on the door, and then he answers, and she realizes that her boobs are just there. So then she goes, "Oh my god!" And then she just. It was good physical comedy, but I was like, "Come on, you live in New York." You know.
It didn't land for me at
I'm
all.
sure no woman.
At this point, I just felt really sorry for Helen Hunt.
Yeah, for having to do that scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Because like this isn't rewarding. I know I guess that she got an Oscar.
Yeah. Sure. For this specific scene, who knows? Yeah.
But like this.
Yeah, you can imagine them.
It felt unrealistic.
Yes, well, I'm
very degrading.
Yeah, I've not lived my life with boobs, but I would imagine that most women would pretty much know straight away that, you know what, I'm not going to go out in the rain.
I'm told it's pretty much like putting on trousers.
Yeah,
like that's how natural it is to put on.
You wouldn't just, oh my god, I forgot, and now oh my god, my boobs are showing. You'd know. Yeah. Sure, that's what I expected. So it's yeah,
and you definitely wouldn't get like all the way across New York.
That's what I mean.
Realizing.
You would, yeah. She would have picked up on what was happening sooner.
I've left the house while still wearing slippers before. That's probably the closest I've got.
How far did you get?
To the shop.
Really? Well, I mean, slippers are as long as you've not been like
like hard sole slippers. Like it's not.
Yeah, not you've walked to the shop in your boxer shorts.
Yeah, but it would be like me going to the shop and then realizing I'm not wearing trousers.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. But yeah, and I was the same. I was kind of imagining like the table read that day. Like, okay, so what are you doing today, Helen? Well, you've got a great scene today, great physical comedy scene for you. So you're going to be topless.
Yeah.
Wet t-shirt in the rain.
Yeah.
Like, oh, great. It's this movie. Yeah. But anyway, they have this whole confrontation.
Why wasn't she wearing like anything on top of her t-shirt as well? We talked about underneath, but nothing on top. Like,
she's lived in New York for years.
It's a cold, rainy New York evening. Yeah. Put on
a coat,
at least a jumper and a coat, and probably have an umbrella with you.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't have had that amazing scene. So
yeah, sure.
You wouldn't have seen Helen Hunt's boobs. So
great. I feel so much better for seeing Helen Hunt's boobs.
Great. I knew you would. Yeah. But yes, so she goes around to Melvin's apartment and she says, "Look, I'm very, very grateful. You've changed my life. I cannot thank you enough. But I will never have sex with you in a million years, ever. Never gonna happen. No." And he's like, "Okay." Like, he's obviously quite hurt, but he
Well, yeah,
accepts it.
I thought you looked quite hurt by that.
Yeah, no, he was. He obviously is hurt, but he accepts it, and he says he makes a joke out of it, and then she leaves, and that's that. But then he apparently this sets something off in him where he decides that he needs to make some changes to his life. At the same time, Greg Kinnear's character finds out that he, as a result of his accident, because he hasn't been able to work and because his last show apparently didn't go over very well, he's now bankrupt.
Yeah.
And so he has to, in order to save himself from losing his apartment and losing everything in his life, he has to ask his parents to lend him some money. And he's like all movie gays, he's not spoken to his parents in like 20 years. So it's, it's a big thing for him. So he has to take a road trip to Baltimore, which is where his parents live. And Melvin agrees to drive him.
See, at this point, I got a bit excited. I was like, oh, it's turned into a road trip movie.
Yay!
And so I just, out of interest, I just looked up like New York to Baltimore, like how long is that? Like expecting like opposite end of the country. It's going to be like a 2-week journey for them. The car's going to break down. They're going to get lost in a dodgy bar. That's classic road trip stuff. Yeah. It's a 4.5 hour drive.
Oh, that's not very exciting.
3.5 hours if you pay for tolls.
That's very, very exciting.
It's not a road trip.
I didn't realize that. You could have got the train.
Yeah.
Why even bring Melvin then? Why bring 3 people? Because it ends up with the 3 of them on a road trip. So Melvin agrees to take Greg Kinnear, but he also pressures Helen Hunt into coming as well. So the 3 of them can have a road trip. So they all drive off to Baltimore, I guess, for 4 hours. I assumed it was more as well, to be honest. That's really changed things for me.
Yeah. It really does, doesn't it?
Because they stay overnight. They get out of a hotel. Like, you could do that.
Yeah.
You could do a round trip.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be a rough day.
It'd be a rough day, but you could do it.
Yeah.
Okay, but whatever. They go to Baltimore, the 3 of them. Bit of a car journey. Helen Hunt, who's never met Greg Kinnear before, but they hit it off, obviously as friends, platonically, but they connect and they both share their kind of sad life stories and stuff. And Melvin's just in the back, just shouting abuse and being inappropriate. But they seem to connect quite well.
The film didn't lean into enough that Melvin made an amazing soundtrack for the road trip.
He did, yes.
And they didn't do anything with it.
I think it was just to show that he had this like it was to show he was obsessive compulsive, but also I was like, yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, but like you can have a really good time with it.
Yeah, I love making playlists.
They play all of 2 tracks.
Yeah, you're right. They could have like made more of like what the songs he chose were.
Yeah.
He chose YMCA and then some like 80s
YMCA as a joke. For
as
like
a joke song.
For like a few seconds and like, sure, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, it just goes on to random shit.
Yeah. No, you're right. They could have made... The whole road trip got really skimmed over, to be honest. They never...
It's not a long trip.
No, they don't. Yeah, exactly. They don't really spend a lot of time on the road adventures, which I would have enjoyed as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, they get to Baltimore after 4 whole hours. And then Helen Hunt's... They're all staying in like a hotel or a motel, whatever. But Helen Hunt gets a phone call from her mother who says that her son's playing... Like, he's already so much better in like 24 hours. Just having a doctor. Now he can play football. He scored a goal and he's running around. And so she's obviously super happy.
God, this is not the first time that the film completely overlooks how some sort of an illness or a disability can just get like miraculously cured.
Oh, sure, yeah. 100%, yeah. Well, this is the point where I found the movie's like lost me. Like the first hour I really liked it. When it hit the road trip and suddenly the whole movie just became about how Helen Hunt and Jack Nicholson were going to get together.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of interest.
Yeah.
But that's where we are right now, so we just need to power through it. But yeah, so she gets this phone call that her son's doing really well. So she's in an amazing mood. She's like, right, fellas, take me out. I want to go out on the town tonight. Yeah. And Greg Kinnear's like, no, I'm still recovering from my beating and I don't feel very good about myself and I need to see my parents tomorrow. So it's just her and Jack Nicholson. And so the 2 of them go out on a date.
Well, first of all, he takes a really long shower.
He does. Well, he's OCD.
Yeah, because of his OCD. And at this point, I'm thinking like, oh, that's sad. She's not going to get to go out because he needs to shower for like 6 hours or whatever. Like just to be like, he's finally going to be ready and everywhere's going to be closed.
Sure.
And that's going to be really sad that like the one time she really wants to have like a happy time, she can't because now that she's not sad, the people around her are sad.
Sure, yeah.
But it doesn't go there. And so he has a really long shower for no reason.
Yeah, well, it's just to show that's his character, I guess. But
I guess, but like it doesn't add anything to the film.
No, it's just a late night city. I don't know what to tell you, but yeah. But they go for a meal in some restaurant, and then he insults her, and then he compliments her, and then he insults her again.
Well, no, she asks him for... This is very important. She asks him for a compliment.
Yeah, because he's insulted her.
Yeah.
because basically the restaurant they go to, it only allows men in suits, and so he has to go and like buy a suit from like a midnight suit store. It seems late.
Yeah.
Why is that store open?
Don't know. Just for people like him, I guess.
Maybe it's like twinned with the restaurant, and it's like a it's a complementary business model. I don't know. But yes, he goes and buys a tuxedo, or a suit anyway, a shirt and jacket, and then he sits down and he says something like really obliviously rude, like, "Well, I don't know why I had to buy a tuxedo while you can get in here in a house dress." I think he says, and she's very upset by that, and she's like, "Look, pay me a compliment right now, or I'm leaving," because that was really hurtful.
Yeah,
and he gives her this. He gives her the quote of the movie, class, it's your rom-com, so this is where the quote of the movie is going to be. The trailer quote, which is, "You make me want to be a better man."
Yeah.
Yeah. So he says that to her, and she's overwhelmed. She kisses him.
Is she overwhelmed by that?
She kisses him.
Actually, yeah, I guess that's the definition. Like
It's the turning point,
I
think, for their relationship.
But it's such a shit compliment.
Yeah, I think that's what I mean. Like,
I think it's just because the whole build up to it and the compliment itself, it was all about him.
Yes.
You'll notice it from here on out that all the compliments he gives are all him talking about himself.
Yes, that's why this movie
is very deliberate, and that's the good writing of this film.
Yeah, but it's also why this film is desperately sad, because she just ends up with this guy who's like not really what's her character arc in this? At no point does she doesn't end this movie in a better place than she started it, apart from that her son's healthy. Yeah. But I mean, like, it's not like she's like, you know what, maybe I don't want to be a waitress anymore. Maybe I can go and live my dream. It's just like, oh, she's got a boyfriend now who's not a very nice man, but is bankrolling her. So I guess she's fine. Yeah. Yeah. It's all through his prism of his happiness, basically. Yeah. So it is, it's weird and unsettling. But anyway, so he gives her this amazing compliment, and then she kisses him. And then he says something even worse. He says, I actually brought you here because I thought maybe you had sex with Greg Kinnear. Maybe you two could get together. He has this weird twisted logic that maybe Greg Kinnear's just not met the right woman yet, and maybe Helen, which I guess is quite selfless in its twisted way, because considering he clearly likes her.
I guess, yeah.
Well, I'm reaching.
So at this point, what he kind of like means the best for them. Like he's like, you need a man, and he needs to find himself a good woman. And
I think that's his logic. Yeah, we're supposed to believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Somewhat, it's like, he's not malicious.
I can see how that's kind of selfless.
Yeah, it's not great
in the most horrifically misguided way possible.
In true, but I think that's what the film is trying to tell us. Yeah. Is that like what he's trying to do is on paper quite noble, but obviously it's just executed incredibly poorly. So she's unbelievably offended by that. She's like, because he's basically tried to pimp her out to a gay guy, which is not flattering for any woman, No. So she storms out the restaurant, storms back to the hotel, just rants and raves at Greg Kinnear, and he's like, has a shower or a bath or whatever, gets naked. Doesn't close the door, of course, because he's gay, so who cares, Yeah. I think that's the attitude of the movie. That's not what Mike. Yeah. But anyway, but he sees her naked and is like, I have to draw you. Yeah. It's the first time he's drawn anyone for since the accident. So this is his redemption arc, I guess. It's him rediscovering his passion for drawing. Yeah. I found it really fascinating that this movie competed against Titanic in the Oscars. Came out about the same time.
Didn't think about that.
Yeah, and it's like Battle of the Draw Me Like Your French Girls.
Yeah.
Like, lots of
clearly which Titanic won, given that's got the name of.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, it's like hand sketching naked ladies was a big player in the Oscars in 1997. That was like a big trend for some reason. I don't know.
Great.
But Greg Kinnear, he sketches Helen Hunt. He does his life drawing of her.
They stay up all night.
All night. Yeah, it's not
literally
just
all night.
It's not just the one drawing. He draws her over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I was her, I'd be like, I'll sit for one, but this is starting to feel a bit intrusive. But
I mean, he's paying her in compliments.
Sure. Yeah. Yes.
And
she's starved of those. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So she's having a great time.
Yeah, true.
Like he's just making her feel like the most beautiful thing that's ever been. So
I wanted, this isn't one of my sequel pictures, but I wanted some scenes of this, just like after the events of this movie, just Helen Hunt getting a therapist and talking through all these issues, and that being a movie, just like talking about Helen Hunt's like desperate need for approval from an old racist and a gay guy, and the only people she can find to pay her a compliment, and she just throws herself at them because she's so desperate for like any kind of validation. Like,
I really liked her and Greg Kinnear's relationship.
Yeah, it was sweet. It was nice. Yeah.
I thought it was just so well matched, and like you could just see that like these two are just going to be best friends for life from
I
here
think
on
that
out. Because they're both going through something very major at the time.
Yeah.
And they're all that each other have.
Yeah.
Them and this horrible old man.
That's it. She's incredibly.
Who's going to die at some point soon, and they're going to live longer.
That's it. She lives in That's the thing. She lives in New York. She's single. She can't get a man, and she's incredibly lonely. She needs a gay best friend.
Yeah.
Like that is what she needs. That's what you do. And she obviously at this point has not found her gay best friend, and maybe this is it. And maybe he needs his fag hag. You know, he needs his. You know,
His what? Sorry.
his fag hag. That's not the most politically correct term, but that's what you call it.
Wow.
Have you never heard that before?
No, I've not heard that before.
Okay. Yeah. He needs his female. Yeah, he needs his female buddy. So, yeah, and I guess you can see how they're going to have a good friendship moving forward. They're good for each other, not romantically, but obviously, despite Jack Nicholson's best intentions. But as friends, it's a good match. So they connect.
I did like the double entendres that they made after that night when like Jack Nicholson comes back, and then they're just talking. They're talking about how they both sort of had a lot of relief after last night from like getting loads of compliments and drawing and just like God, I really had that built up inside me. I needed to get that one out.
Yeah.
And just kind of making it look like they'd had sex, even though like they very clearly
They're
hadn't.
not. Yeah.
Not that they were trying to trick him or anything, but just
No, they were just
it looked like they were intentionally teasing him.
probably. Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed.
Did you have sex with her?
Okay, so you sure you don't want your shampoos or anything?
Sorry. I didn't know she was still here. Did you have sex with her?
To hell with sex. It was better than sex. We held each other. What I need, he gave me. Great. I'll get dressed in a hurry.
Just love her.
So ultimately, Greg Kinnear decides not to visit his parents because he's now had this moment of like realization that he rediscovered his passion. He's like, you know what? I'm not going to go beg my homophobic parents for money. I'm just going to strike out on my own. I'm going to make this work, whatever.
Yeah.
So they all go back to New York again. He moves in with Melvin, I guess, which, I guess any port in a storm. But again, like, what's Cuba Gooding Jr. doing? What's Yardley Smith doing? Does he not have... Also, who was looking after the dog?
Yeah, the dog does disappear in this movie.
Because I was like...
And nobody mentions it.
Yeah, because the whole point...
And that's a big...
It's a big plot point that
at the start.
Nobody apart from Jack Nicholson will look after the dog.
Yeah.
For the first hour, which is why he gets the dog.
Yeah.
But then for the second hour, I guess anyone can have the dog.
Yeah.
Someone takes it. I don't even know. Yeah. But anyway, they go back to New York, the three of them. Helen Hunt is like, look, this is... to Jack Nicholson, she's just like, look, this is not a healthy relationship for me at all, and you make me feel so bad about myself. I'm still very grateful that you saved my son's life, but I never want to see you again.
Yeah.
So then she leaves, and then he feels kind of down about it, but him and Greg Kinnear have kind of a heart-to-heart, and then he ends up going around to Helen Hunt's house in the middle of the night and declaring his undying love for her, I guess.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, like we said earlier, she gives that whole speech like, why can't I have a normal boyfriend? And the mum just negs us like, look, this is as good as it's going to get. This is as... Well, she doesn't quote the movie that happened earlier, but like, she's like, there's no such thing as the perfect boyfriend. And I'm like, that's true. There is no such thing as the perfect boyfriend, but...
This is
better than this.
This is the lowest bar.
This is really... Yeah, you can do... Helen Hunt, you can do better than this.
Yeah.
Really, you can. Yeah. But no, she takes it, and they go on a walk together and have a little heart-to-heart, and they have a big kiss, and then the movie ends. It really feels like the movie... was like, oh shit, we're going over 2 hours. Wrap it up, guys. Wrap it up.
I like how disgusted she looked by his kiss.
Yes, that's what I mean.
That felt like a lot of payoff for me. Just like, well, no, not payoff's the wrong word. It's more of like, was this scripted? That she was supposed to do that disgusted look, or was that Helen Hunt just like, oh, Jack Nicholson?
She's just not that good of an actress. Yeah. Very possibly. Yeah.
Oh God.
It is weird. Yeah.
Why does it always seem to happen in Jack Nicholson movies that, like, he's a romantic interest?
Because he's Jack Nicholson.
He's not sexy.
No, but...
Even though she nearly says, you're so sexy, he's not sexy.
No, he's not, but that is his...
And what was that film we watched a few years ago? Wolf, with, like, Michelle Pfeiffer.
We've done Wolf and we've done Witches of Eastwick, yeah.
Yeah. We've done The Shining as well, but
that he wasn't supposed to be sexy in that.
There's nothing romantic in that.
No.
But, yeah, like, The Witches of Eastwick, Cher says he smells.
Yeah.
Because... he looks like he does.
Well, I think that's Jack Nicholson's whole appeal. It's not that he's like Brad Pitt. He's never been Brad Pitt. He's never been someone who looks like, oh my God, this is like the perfection of male form, whatever.
Yeah.
It's more like he's the guy who you really don't want to fancy, but against your better judgment, you just do. And we've all had that, guy or girl. You know, there's always been that. I shouldn't fancy them, but there's just something about them. And as much as you hate it, as much as you know it's wrong, it's there, and you can't fight it. I think that's his. I think he just looks like a guy who's probably good in bed. Not in this film because he's like old, but well, no, he did. But like in his earlier stuff, he's never like your traditional leading man.
Yeah.
But I think he just looks like he'd ruin you.
Yeah.
God, I'm sorry, but he does. You asked the question.
I'm not quite sure I did. But I don't think I specifically said what do women see in him.
Well, I think that's what it is. That's my best guess. Yes.
Yeah.
He's the bit of rough. He's a bit of rough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but at this point, he's just an old man, and I
Yeah.
agree. It's not. She can definitely do better. It's
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, that's the end of the film. They get together. They have a snog. The film ends with him stepping on a crack and not realizing, and then looking at it and going like, "Oh, I guess I'm cured from my OCD. Love has cured me." Yeah. It's not the best ending.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because love can just cure
Love
a
just
mental
cures
disorder.
everything. Yes, sure. That's what Hollywood has taught us.
Yeah, just get yourself a young girl. That'll sort
That'll
you out.
sort everything. That's all you need. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood.
Woo! I never said this was like a progressive movie.
No, you didn't. You said, "Why did I pick this?"
Yeah. I'm still not sure, but at least we have enjoyed most of it.
Yeah.
In a way. Yeah.
Oh God, this film was really something.
It was something. Yeah. It was definitely a thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so drinking games.
Yes. Okay. Do you want to start?
Sure. First one I got, you might have had this too. Drink for any kind of white male privilege.
Sure. Okay.
Because there's
Do you want to point some white male privilege in this movie?
the fact that he can just bail out his friends.
True.
Or not even friends, just like he can make people like him just by paying for things for them.
That is true. Yeah, well, he definitely has that 90s movie lead actor thing of just having loads of money from some undefined.
Yeah.
Yeah, money is no object to him, even though it's obviously an object for the other two characters. But yeah, you're right. Here's the straight white male, so he has money. He's just like writing all these mysterious romance novels that make him a fortune.
Another example, being horrible to everybody, especially minorities, and completely getting away with it.
True. I did think at a certain point, like when he's in the restaurant, and he's being horribly rude to people, and he's getting away with it. I was like, would this play out the same if this character was black? I don't think it would.
No, it wouldn't.
It very much would not. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He certainly has a lot of white male privilege.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I had very similar to that. I had drink for homophobia, racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, or any other ism or ear.
Sure. Yeah.
Just anytime he just says something unbelievably foul, and and we have to forgive him because he's charmingly Jack Nicholson. But
I didn't think he was charming in this at
no.
all.
Well, I mean, I mean, just imagine if it wasn't Jack Nicholson.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine how unlikable that character would be.
Well, it depends who it would be and who and how they were playing it. I don't find Jack Nicholson that charming or charismatic. I find him a good actor.
Yeah. Okay, but
I don't find him like super watchable.
Okay, that's interesting.
I know that a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I think he's one of the few people who could play this character and make it somewhat work. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I can think of loads who certainly couldn't make this work.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the few people who can play this character because I know him as a good actor. So I feel like
you'll give him a bit of a pass.
He's kind of earned a bit of like
leeway.
Yeah, a bit of leeway with it, and then also he can pass for this because he is an old white man.
Yes.
So like, you're right. If it was a black actor playing this role, it certainly wouldn't have worked.
No,
because everything would have felt completely unrealistic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But some of the things he says in this movie, he really goes in. Like, yeah. The comment about the Jewish characters was that was really. I think that might be the. I mean, the homophobia is.
First of all, he describes Cuba Gooding Jr. as, I think, dark as thick molasses.
Yes, there's that. Yes, he calls him the coloured guy, and then he says. Then Greg Kinnear's like, "What colour do you mean?"
Yeah.
And then he's like, dark as thick molasses. Yeah, and then he also calls Greg Kinnear a fudge packer, and then he calls the Jewish characters he goes to Helen Hunt saying, "There's Jews at my table," and then he says, "What? Your appetite's not as big as your nose." It's just there's just lots of it. It's just very unpleasant. Yes. Yeah. So yes. But that's his character. So
Yeah, I know, but I don't know. The way you're saying that makes it sound like it's being forgiven.
No, I'm not forgiving it. I'm just observing
it I didn't find any kind of like enjoyment or satisfaction out of watching those bits. It was just like, I feel like I'm just spending time around an old racist white man.
True, and there's never any redemption for that part of it. It's like
No, not at all. That's the big problem with it. Because if it was that like the dog sort of wins him over and turns him into a good person, then he sort of undoes all his ways and he goes back to the restaurant and apologizes to the Jewish people and
I guess he does
anything like that.
I guess he befriends Greg Kinnear. If you're going to be generous, you could say that he does befriend Greg Kinnear, and he still says like very inappropriate things to him.
I'd say like to give the benefit of the doubt, he does befriend these two people.
Yeah. Like there's a scene,
and Greg Kinnear is from a kind of selfless.
Yeah.
A selfless way.
I think the dog brings them together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's a bit where he misunderstands. I can't remember what the context is, but there's a bit about 2/3 in after him and Greg Kinnear have kind of begrudgingly become friends.
Yeah.
And Greg Kinnear says something to him, and he misinterprets it as him hitting on him, and he says, "I'd be the luckiest man alive, but I'm not interested." But so like it's not great, but it's a start, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I could, but on the whole, it doesn't really question his. Horrible behavior enough.
The character never earned my forgiveness.
No, I never thought that at the end. Oh, he's definitely going to stop being racist now.
No.
I feel like he's still going to be racist, but Helen Hunt's going to be like, "Oh, what are you?
Oh,
like?
you.
Oh, you. You're such a charming, bigot." Yeah, I know.
Anyway, Drunken Ever the dog is really cute.
Okay, I knew that would be what would keep, if nothing else, would keep you.
I mean,
watching.
I at the start of this film, I thought that you chose this film purely for the dog.
Yeah.
But then to try and please me and Louise watching this, just like, I'll pick a film with a very cute dog in it.
Well, it wasn't not on my mind. But yeah, I mean, this film never met a doggy reaction shot it didn't like. Definitely seems you could imagine the dog could have had a voiceover role in this film. Oh yes, but the dog is useless. Like as a dog to Greg, like the dog is. That's it. I drink every time the dog is a horrible dog.
Horrible dog
for Greg Kinnear. Like the dog is a whore.
Oh yeah.
The dog is such a whore.
Yeah.
The dog really bonds with Jack Nicholson, and then when the dog comes back to Greg Kinnear, he just ignores him. He misses Jack Nicholson too much.
Yeah.
I did love the scene where Greg Kinnear is trying to, like, when he's having the lowest points of his life and he's being told he's bankrupt. He tries to call the dog over, and the dog just ignores him completely. And then Greg Kinnear does a very good Jack Nicholson impression.
Yeah.
And the dog immediately is like, it's just like so mean.
Yeah.
Maybe the dog would be a better dog to Greg Kinnear if Greg Kinnear had not called him Verdell. I feel like that might have been a factor. I mean, if he'd just given the dog a less wanky name, the dog might resent him slightly less.
Yeah. It almost sounds like, in Modern Family, how Mitch and Cam have all their gay friends who have got ridiculous names like
Pepper, yeah,
like Jamichael
and Pepper,
and stuff like that. It sounds like one of those, like an intentionally ridiculous gay name.
Oh sure. And don't get me wrong, when I get dogs, I'm going down that route. My dogs are gonna have stupid gay names.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna go with like how you name your goldfish, like Goldie Hawn and Befinda Carlisle. You're not gonna go down that route with a pun, or are you gonna?
I don't know. A pun, maybe not. Just like ludicrously gay names, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking Heathcliff and Caffey.
Is that one name? Is that two names?
No,
three names? What?
Heathcliff.
Okay.
And Caffey from Wuthering Heights by Kate Bush.
Okay, cool.
It's me, Heathcliff. It's me, it's Caffey. I just like the idea of being like on the Yorkshire Moors, being like Heathcliff. It's a good dog name. Yeah, so.
Sure. Yeah.
I've thought about it.
Yeah. See, now one thing you've got to you've got to think about if you're going to get a pair of dogs, because a neighbour of mine once got a pair of Jack Russells and he called them Jack and Russ.
Not
terrible,
very imaginative.
Terrible. But and this isn't the best example of that. But you've got to think about what's going to happen if one of them doesn't
make it.
Doesn't. Because then you might be stuck with like one half of a pair of names.
Sure.
And it might not work anymore.
So just Russ doesn't really work. No?
Yeah, that's kind of how it ended. Like he just had Russ left, and it was like, oh, that's a kind of weird name for a dog now.
No, that's sad.
Yeah, it's
good to know.
Think about that.
I'll give that some thought.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so that was the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Drink for speeches.
Okay, yeah.
But this movie is filled with speeches. It's a very speechy script. Like every character in this film gets their Oscar speech at one point or the other.
I mean, so did last week's.
True, but it's just very much more obvious this week. I think it's just.
Do you think you remember Good Will Hunting?
No,
everything was a monologue.
Okay, it's a bit more elegant in this one, but it was still something that really I really noticed. Every character gets a monologue.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them, and and they're very obvious, and they're not how human beings in real life would speak. But
no,
just drink for them. Just drink for them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Drink whenever Jack Nicholson's character talks about himself.
Okay, in the sense that he's kind of a narcissist?
Yeah, basically. So largely, like I already mentioned, like all the compliments he gives to people are while he's talking about himself.
Sure. You make me want to be a better me.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, there's just loads of other examples throughout this film. When, like, say, that scene in the car when Greg Kinnear's talking about like how his parents sort of kicked him out, and then Jack Nicholson's just like, yeah, well, my dad beat me with a belt when I was younger. Just stuff like that. Everything always needs to be on him.
Yeah,
and he needs to talk about himself. People need to be talking about him.
Yes,
if they're not talking to him.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
So drink for those.
Drink every time he's self-centered. Sure.
God,
okay.
I hate this guy.
Yeah, I can tell. You really took against him. Drink every time Helen Hunt's hair changes.
I hadn't noticed.
I did. I big time noticed. Considering she's like a New York waitress who has no money and only ever stays with her son, her hair changes constantly. Like she has a new blowout every scene. It's just quite funny to me.
Oh, you got to take care of yourself.
Sure, absolutely. But it's just funny to me because it doesn't seem like she's the kind of character who can afford to be spending a lot of time at the salon.
No.
But her hairstyle was in a constant state of evolution. Which is quite fun to me.
Yeah. Okay, last one I got here is drink whenever anybody suffers from their problem.
Anybody suffers from their problem?
Everybody in this film has like a problem.
Oh,
so
I see.
Greg Kinnear's problem is he got beaten up and like his life is completely bottoming out.
Sure.
Jack Nicholson's problem, he has OCD.
Yes.
And Helen Hunt's problem is her son's problem.
Yes.
Basically.
She has a son.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
her problem.
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, just drink every time anybody does that. Because like they all just have one thing
that
for
they
them,
need to
basically.
overcome. Yeah, I see that makes sense. Yeah, sure. That makes sense. Okay. My last one, drink for, well, I've got it down as celebrity cameos. But I think it's more like every time you see an actor and go, oh, I know them.
There's a lot of that in there.
There's so much of that in this.
Yeah.
So many characters.
More so than I feel I've seen in other things.
Yeah. Well, I think it's James L. Brooks who made this film. Like, he's a very famous director. He's done a lot of big films. And I think he's just one of those guys who just like, yeah, just bring all my mates in. All my friends will be in this film. Yardley Smith, why not?
Yeah.
You know.
Maya Rudolph.
I know you noticed Maya Rudolph.
She's not even famous yet.
No, I think this is literally that's what I mean. That's not a celebrity cameo. That is person who will be famous in a few years.
Yeah,
just taking a job as like an extra. Basically, she plays a police officer, and she's in it for like. But that's what I mean. That's the joy of this film. You're like, is that Maya Rudolph?
Yeah. And is Marie from Breaking Bad in it as well?
I think so. Yeah,
one of the waitresses at the start.
Yes, Marie from Breaking Bad is one of the waitresses.
Yeah, I forget the actor's name.
Darla from Buffy is the girl in the book publishers where she's like, how do you write women so well? And he's like, I just write a man and take away reason and accountability. So.
She did not have a good character.
No.
I hated it when her character came on because she's what, like 20 or something in this?
Sure, yeah.
And like her entire character in this is just to be completely taken with 60-year-old Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
And it looked horrible.
It did. Yeah.
I hated it. It was really bad. Yeah. I was like, because at this point, I was still like, are him and Helen Hunt gonna, or no? And then the scene was like, yeah, the film's not afraid of it. Him and Helen Hunt are definitely
This film is still acting like Jack Nicholson is 35.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but there's a lot of celebrities in this. Is the point I'm making?
2 guys from Scream.
2 guys. Yes, the cast of Scream. The guy at the maitre d' at the restaurant they go to is definitely someone who appears in other films all the time.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like one-shot characters. So yeah, that was
very good.
That was my drinking games.
Cool. Okay. Well, before we get to sequels, listeners, if you've enjoyed this episode so far and you want to hear more, well, you can go to patreon.com/beyondtheboxset. And if you do, you can have extended versions of our episodes. We talk more about the film, we give you more sequel ideas, and there's more listener submissions and even more drinking games. More of everything is the extended versions. You also get a few more bonus features there. We get a bonus show where we review films that we, normally see in the cinema. Now everything's on
more
streaming.
So on Netflix, but yeah.
But hey, there's that.
Yeah.
You get to have an advert on the main show once a month. Every Patreon gets a 30-second advert slot, which John normally puts in, I think, after this.
Yes.
To be honest, I don't know. I don't listen to this show.
What a great endorsement there, Harry.
I'm on it. I'm listening now.
True.
To be honest, I've not listened to every episode. Even though I've been on every episode, I've not been listening.
No, a lot of the time you tuned out, I can tell you.
But I do my best.
Sure.
So also if you become Patreon, not just the advert slot, but also once a month we do a Patreon episode where we get a Patreon to choose the film for us. Now you can come and guest on the episode if you want to, but you don't have to. But yeah, we'll do any film you pick, really. So all that is available at patreon.com/beyondtheboxset.
Indeed.
Let's see, Alex. What do you think of Jaws, which is at 97% Rotten Tomatoes?
I find it to be anti-shark propaganda. What do you feel about the Entourage movie, which is at a meager 33%?
I think they finally got Hollywood right. How about It Follows, 97%?
Worse than your parents giving you the sex is evil talk. How do you feel about Juno, which is at 94%?
That would be a movie that celebrates a teenage homewrecker. How about Bewitched at 25%?
Best television adaptation ever put to film. How do you feel about American Hustle at a towering 93%?
Overwrought awards bait. Righteous Kill, 19%.
The movie that Michael Mann wishes he had made when he created Heat.
Sounds about right. I'm Julio.
I'm Alex, and we are the Contrarians.
As you can tell, our thing is that we rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine.
Regardless of what we really feel.
Find us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn,
Facebook, Twitter, we're everywhere.
All right. Sequels. So my first one is called As Good As It Gets To How Carol, that's Helen Hunt's character, How Carol Got Her Groove Back.
Is that all the title? How Carol, that's Helen Hunt's character, How Carol Got Her Groove Back.
No, it's just
the
called,
movie.
it's called As Good As It Gets To How Carol Got Her Groove Back. So I just wanted to clarify who Carol was. You know, you might not know.
Probably a bad title if you need to clarify a character.
Yeah, well, I just know that you don't pay attention to character names, so I thought
That's fairly true.
So anyway, picks up 20 years later, Jack Nicholson's character Melvin has died.
Fair enough.
I'm being bold. I'm killing him off.
It's a very obvious thing to do.
He's not acting anymore. I mean, I put him in some of my other sequels, so the fact he's not acting anymore isn't like a game changer. But for the purposes of this one, I'm like, you know what? He's not acting anymore, so I'm going to kill him off.
Yeah, I mean, he is now 83.
Yeah, sure. No, give the guy a break. Yeah, that's fine. Good for you. Go live your life.
Yeah,
Jack Nicholson.
I mean, like, as in like the character in this movie
as well. Yeah,
he would be about 83
He would be
if
83.
he's dead at this point. It's not
It's
tragedy.
not,
It's a good innings.
It is the circle of life, indeed.
Yeah.
So he has died.
But also few.
Yeah, sure. Well, this is the thing. So Helen Hunt's character, turns out they stayed together from 1997.
Okay.
And she has nursed him through years of like ailments and ill health because he's not the healthiest guy. And now he's finally died.
Poor Helen Hunt.
I know, right?
Like she
really joined
I
in
assume
at the
like
tail end.
just sort of got over that with her son, and now she's got to do it with him.
Exactly, that's my point. Yeah, so she's jumped out of the frying pan into the fire. Yeah, she went from a sick son to an old guy who was just going to get older and sicker as time went by. So time's not been kind to her. So 20 years of marriage to that guy.
Mm-hmm. How were his mental illnesses at the time?
Well, that's also a problem. Also a problem. You know, he didn't just get better. So it's been a rough road for her. She's really put herself through it.
Wow.
So he's finally dead, and so he's finally dead, and she is now, because she's lived with this for 20 years, and before that she was nursing her son. She too is now old, lonely, and bitter.
Mm-hmm.
So she's basically become him.
Yeah.
Because she's had such a shit 20 years. She's basically become who he was in the actual film.
Yeah.
So that's where we're starting with.
Oh, so she's like horrible to everybody.
She's a horrible person now.
Right,
She's just this bitter old lady.
Oh, okay.
And she just lives in what was his apartment, now their apartment. Same apartment. They never moved because he was far too OCD to ever want to move house, clearly. So they still live in that same apartment. And she's living off his book royalties. And she shuts herself away from the world, and she's just like a full-on crazy cat lady.
Yeah.
So maybe she's filled the apartment with cats since she died. And that's all she does. She just lives with cats, and she doesn't like people.
Okay.
That's her character.
Okay. Are we going to catch up with Greg Kinnear in this?
We are. So Greg Kinnear comes back. Maybe for Jack Nicholson's funeral, or just maybe he's in town.
So Jack Nicholson died recently.
Yeah, no, that's the point. He died recently because she's
okay.
been through 20 years of this shit, and that's what's turned her into this like angry shut-in because her life's been shit. So yeah, no, Jack Nicholson's only just died. This is a whole new experience for her.
Right. Okay.
So Greg Kinnear turns up, maybe for Jack Nicholson's funeral, or just maybe in general he's in town and he gives her a call, whatever. But they've not seen each other for a while. And he sees how her life has been since Jack died, and what a bad state she's in, and it's like, you deserve better than this. And he's like gone on and lived his best life these past 20 years. Maybe his art career has been successful.
His shirt's even more open.
His shirts are more open than ever. He's more flamboyant than ever. He's living his best gay life.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, I'm gonna go on holiday to like Mykonos or something. It's like some gay resort, whatever. And you're gonna come with me. You need to have some fun. When was the last time you left this city and had some actual fun?
Yeah.
So he's gonna take her on holiday to like a gay resort.
Okay.
Yeah. And so she goes. And this film follows Helen Hunt and Greg Kinnear as they go on to this like fabulous gay island, whatever. And I just thought it'd be really fun to have her character. Maybe
I nearly asked, have you ever been on a holiday that's specifically for gay people?
I go to the Eurovision Song
And
Contest
then I
every
remembered,
year. Yes, Harry, I have. So she goes on this fabulous holiday, and I'm thinking maybe she has like a fling with a much younger man, like a guy in like his 20s, just to make up for all the years of being with this
much
old
older man.
fart. Yeah. So she has this fling with a much younger man. She's having a great time. She's partying on the beach. She's getting drunk. She's doing all the things she should have done when she was younger. She's finally free. She has a great time. Finally opening herself up again and having fun for the first time in like 40 years. It's great. Until her and Greg Kinnear go out one night to like a gay strip club, just for fun. And who does she spot doing a dance but her own son?
Nice.
Yeah.
So what's her relationship been with her son for the past 20 years or whatever?
Well, she thought good.
Yeah.
But then she thought he was doing a PhD back in America. Like she thought maybe she like doesn't see him that much, but he's gone off and he tells her that he's doing a PhD at like Brown University or something. Actually, he's a go-go dancer on this Greek island.
Right. Okay.
So she's like horrified. He's horrified. It's it's, oh my god, mom. It's the worst. It's the most humiliating thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and she's really annoyed. She's like, "This is how you've been spending all my money." Like maybe she's been sending him like money from whatever
to pay for the
tuition fees, and he's actually turns out he dropped out of college like years ago, and he's just living it up.
Yeah.
All this time.
Yeah.
And and that's as far as I've got. But I was thinking like
is she with Greg Kinnear when she makes this discovery?
As friends, yes, they're both in the bar together.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Are they physically in the same space?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking yes. He takes us to this like. He doesn't know that her son's going to be there. It's news to him as well.
Okay.
But I'm thinking he's like, oh, let's go out on the town tonight. Let's go and visit a dance bar or whatever. You'll have a great time. She's going for it. She's loving this new lifestyle she's got. And then her son is and I'm thinking her son is literally like, have I ever taken you to Viaduct where I'm sure I have, but like you have been in there, but maybe you don't remember. Maybe you repressed it. But like where the bar staff, you have been there. I know you have years ago. But
which one's Viaduct?
One of the gay bars.
Yeah, no, I got that.
You definitely have. I remember distinctly we went one time. I mean, they're all closed now because of the coronavirus, but all the bar staff are like muscly guys who just are wearing like budgie smugglers, like Y-fronts.
Right, yeah.
So I think that's how she first sees her son. He's literally just like, he's oiled up.
I do not remember that.
We did go one time. Not just me and you, a bunch of us went. I can't remember why. We dragged you. Like,
oh, was it for Southern Stag Do or something?
Yeah, it was like very early in our friendship. It was like
Stag Do.
Yeah, it was somebody's thing. Yeah, and you were just there.
Is that the time you went to the strip club?
No, different night.
Okay.
But no, there was a time when a few of us went.
Well, what a time we've had.
We've had our times, Harry. Anyway, point is that's how she finds her son. Like the worst time you want to run into your mum or your son.
Yeah.
He's like oiled up and just like dancing on poles and serving drinks in his little tighty whities, his little Y-fronts. So very uncomfortable moment. But yes, I'm thinking ultimately like she's very angry and she's like, I can't believe this is how you're spending your money. And then they kind of have a heart to heart, and it's like maybe because of the way she is and the way she's become over the years as being quite overbearing. She's a very overbearing mother, which this film kind of hints at. That she's very overbearing. Yeah. But also because Jack had a very bad influence on her and made her very kind of a shut-in and very close-minded and unapproachable.
Right.
He didn't feel when he dropped out of college, he didn't feel he could tell her. He was too ashamed, and so he just kept taking her money and then went to this island. And so maybe this film follows her as she makes amends with her son, and they build their relationship back.
Yeah.
And then she also enjoys a bit of a fun time on this island, and she loosens up a bit, and it just makes her life a bit better.
Yeah. I'd say like he sort of takes her on a tour of what his life is now.
Yes. Yeah.
Which, is largely this island and the people that are on this island. But it's just a great fun time, and Greg Kinnear's just along for the ride, and he's just enjoying it. He's reliving his youth, his 20s, even though he's 40 or 50 or whatever.
Probably in his 50s at this point. Yes, exactly. So it's just basically that. It's just it's just like mostly just a journey for her, just having a good time, unwinding a little bit, and reconnecting with her son.
Yeah,
on a gay island somewhere in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, so that was how Carol got her groove back.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one that I've got, I've got two. The first one that I've got is called As Good as the Cuckoo's Nest Gets.
Okay, I can potentially see where the connection might be here to another Jack Nicholson vehicle, but go ahead. Yeah.
So first of all, have you seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
Of course I have.
Great. So you won't mind if I spoil the end.
Go ahead.
So listeners, quick spoiler alert for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So obviously at the end of that, Jack Nicholson's character gets a lobotomy, is that the
Yes.
word? Yeah. And loses his mind.
Mm-hmm.
Years later, this leads into the events of As Good as It Gets.
Oh, so the lobotomy left him as this kind of OCD, obsessive compulsive character.
No.
Oh, okay.
So Jack Nicholson's broken mind invents a world where everything is about him.
Oh, so none of it's real. Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. Carry on.
He invents many different kinds of people around him who they all love him very much, and everything is this perfectly happy world. But his mind is very broken, and it twists the reality to a place where everything is the opposite of how he wants it to be.
Okay.
So everybody is very hate-filled and unhappy. Nobody likes him. He doesn't like anybody. It's just a horrible place and a horrible time.
So the universe of As Good as It Gets is this world it's created in his own mind.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it.
In this broken, twisted mind.
Sure.
But I've not got a lot here. In the real world, though, due to the passing of Nurse Ratched, his previous favourite nurse, Helen Hunt, gets promoted to her level and brings in a new wave of caregiving.
Oh, okay. So it's like the place gets nicer.
Yeah. Her techniques, they're way more effective.
Mm-hmm.
So, previously Nurse Ratched was like, lobotomize everybody, nah.
Sure.
And Helen Hunt's much more like,
therapeutic.
Give them hugs and stuff.
Okay,
yeah, whatever,
right.
whatever. So, his brain starts getting a bit better. I mean, he's still being lobotomized.
I was going to say, how much better can it get?
he is screwed. He's still very much, he's living in his own world.
Sure.
But
okay.
His world becomes less hate-filled.
Okay.
And so, yeah, he starts to like people a bit more. Does a few good deeds here and there, pays off this little boy's medical bills.
Mm-hmm. In the fantasy?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm saying that this, As Good as It Gets is the fantasy.
No, that's what I'm saying. So
So that's all the fantasy, yes.
So in the real world, he's still sat in. He can't really move or do anything, but in his mind, things are getting better, and so in his mind, he's treating people nicer. Okay.
Yeah. And every now and then, this character in his fantasy, the Helen Hunt character, they kind of get a bit close, a bit romantic.
Okay.
And
So
and yet where he's seeing a big romantic scene where they have a snog and stuff like that. Cut back to the real world, and it's just Nurse Helen Hunt just changing his pillows or something.
Sure.
And he's just trying to.
Okay, I see.
Sort of consciously trying to snog her, but it's not nothing's working there.
Sure.
But yeah, basically that's what I've got for that, which is as good as the Cuckoo's Nest gets. Just showing that this ridiculous film that you picked this week kind of works better as it's all somebody's dream or
Okay. No,
made up world.
No, that's interesting. It feels like it could
Because the film is very much, it's only about Jack Nicholson's character, even though he's not the most interesting character.
That's a good point.
In my opinion. You look at the cover of the film, it's just him.
Mm-hmm.
It's as though he's the main character. This is his world. Everything is about him. Everything he says, he's talking about himself.
Sure.
He never really does a selfless act. Whenever he compliments somebody, he's talking about himself. It's all about him. It's because it's all his own world in his own mind.
Okay. Could it be that Helen Hunt, as this replacement Nurse Ratched, one of her therapeutic techniques is emotional support puppies? And so she gets a dog in.
Yes.
And,
there we go.
Lobotomized Jack Nicholson from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest bonds with the dog. The dog is licking him and is helping him along.
Yeah.
And so that means that the dog manifests in the fantasy as this dog that comes around and makes him a better person.
Yeah.
That could work too.
Yeah, totally.
That could be really sad.
Yeah.
Just that you have this whole hopeful movie and then it cuts back and he's just still paraplegic because he's got no brain.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. It's an interesting take.
It's definitely something.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it. There's not a lot of places you can take it, but Yeah, there's definitely something.
Okay, my second idea. The title is Melvin and Maude.
Okay.
Okay, Melvin being the Jack Nicholson character, and it's named after the title is named after a film that I've not made you watch yet, but it's been on my list for a while. It's called Harold and Maude. It's a real movie. It's about a younger guy who ends up with a much older woman. It's a kind of a dark comedy. It's very good. We'll do it one day. Anyway, but in this version, Melvin and Carol, Helen Hunt's character, did not last. They didn't stay together. Like
Right.
they got together at the end of the first film. They tried it out for a few weeks. It became very clear very quickly that they were not compatible. They wanted different things. They were very different emotionally. So they fizzled out. And so he went back to being a loner, basically. So despite the fact that they broke up very quickly, he did continue to pay her son's medical bills just out of general, the goodness of decency, the goodness of his heart, and because he does feel a certain affection for her. But they were very quickly realized to be not compatible romantically. So he reverts back very quickly to his old self of being kind of very grumpy, he lives this very lonely, repetitive existence where all he does is goes to the same cafe once a week and eat with plastic cutlery and be offensive to people, and nothing's really changed. He's just back in his old habits.
Yeah.
There's not really been a lot of growth there.
Yeah.
One day, he turns up at his favourite restaurant. Could be the same restaurant, but maybe Helen Hunt doesn't work there anymore. Maybe she's gone on to study, do like a mature degree, or something, be a mature student, whatever. She's just gone on to better things. Right?
Yeah.
But maybe he still goes to that same restaurant. And one day he goes to his table because he still has his favorite table. He has to sit. It has to be the one he sits at every week, and it's actually taken by a crotchety old woman, like a female version of him, like an old woman who's just really grouchy and maybe a bit OCD and rude.
Have you got a casting in mind?
I've got a few ideas, yeah. And I'm sure you've figured it out by now. But the point of this is that rather than him ending up with a woman who's like 30 years younger than him, he ends up with someone who is his age and is similar to him in personality. So like a grouchy old woman who may have obsessive compulsive disorder or something similar.
Sure.
But who is ultimately, he's just very rude and very like eccentric. But the two of them are going to hit it off because they actually have something in common, and they have that in common.
See, now I was thinking that they were going to hate each other.
No, they do initially, but then the hate turns to love, as always happens in the movies.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had a few ideas for the actress to play this. Carol Kane, as in, from Kimmy Schmidt, the stoop wench, or whatever she calls herself. Stoop witch. It's a joke in the show.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, Kimmy Schmidt's landlady.
Yeah.
You can imagine that, right? She's very much, my other idea was Joanna Lumley from Absolutely Fabulous.
Yes, it works.
Yeah. Chain smoking,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can see that.
Yeah. And my third idea was, this is a bit niche, but I hope you'll get it. Esteemed character actress Margot Martindale.
Nope.
From BoJack Horseman. You watched BoJack Horseman, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember the running joke about esteemed character actress Margot Martindale?
No, I don't, sorry.
Oh, Harry.
Oh, it was a few years ago I watched BoJack.
Well, she's a real character actress. I can't think what you know her from. She's very much like that woman actress. She's a character actress. She does character roles.
Yeah.
But in BoJack Horseman, she played herself as and she's always referred to as esteemed character actress Margot Martindale. And the point is that she's this great actress who always plays great supporting roles, but nobody really knows who she is. Right. But in BoJack Horseman, she becomes like a master criminal. It's a good character. I can't believe you forgot it.
Sure.
But I thought that would be fun.
I'll enjoy rewatching that.
Yeah,
sometime.
one of those. But it doesn't matter. Any of those actresses can do. But the point is, it's got to be someone about Jack Nicholson's age, capable of playing like this flinty old woman, basically. Yeah. And you're right. They hate each other because she's taken his seat, and she doesn't change seats for anyone. Neither does he. So it's initially like a whole rivalry for the possession of the bar or the restaurant, whatever it is. But then as time goes by, they reluctantly fall in love. But it's not going to be like romantic love. It's going to be very like, begrudging love because they're both so cynical, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my main idea, that he just finds a girlfriend who's his own age and is a bit similar to him. So it's not like he's dragging someone else's sunshine down. It's just like two people who meet at the same level. But then I was also thinking maybe they could both have biological kids that they've never mentioned before who are about the same age.
Okay.
Because we never get any of his backstory. We assume he's been single forever, but we don't know it. Maybe he had like a wife or a girlfriend or even like a one night stand, and like maybe he has like an adult son.
Yeah.
And maybe Carol Kane / Margot Martindale / Joanna Lumley, whoever it might be. Joanna Lumley, sure. Yeah. Has a biological daughter, or vice versa. And maybe we find their grown-up children come into the plot. To either they meet and they have their own romance, or maybe they just come to see their parents, and maybe they're like happy that their parents respectively have found love, but also they're concerned, and maybe this person's taking advantage of their parent, or
Well, maybe each of their kids, they've already become a couple.
Mhm.
And so it was like, oof, guys, this is weird. Like
it's a weird family reunion,
yeah.
uncomfortable family reunion.
Well, as in, like, he has a son, she has a daughter.
Mhm.
Their son and daughter, they've already become a couple together.
Oh, so their kids are couples before. Oh, so maybe instead of being at the restaurant, they meet at a family reunion.
Yeah.
He gets a message from like his estranged like 20-something son who he's not spoken to for like years and years, saying, "Dad, I'm getting married.
Yeah.
Come to the wedding." And he reluctantly goes.
Yeah.
And he goes, and at the ceremony, the mother of the bride, or
That's it.
it's this
it's
bitter
perfect.
old lady, and the
Yeah.
two of them like connect over bitching, and then they fall in love.
And they just complain about their kids the whole time.
Yeah, and it makes the kids really uncomfortable because now their parents, they're seeing their parents in this new light as these kind of people who have sex, and but also as they've both found someone who's as horrible as they are, which nobody wants. So
No.
so that could be a good comedy, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all I've got for that, but that was Melvin and Maude.
Nice. All right, should we move on to listener submissions then? Take it away.
We have Maximilian Katz said... I know we just talked about dogs. I think I'm sure it's a coincidence. Maximilian Katz said, "Too good to get." Yeah. Kevin Mowry said, "Not as good as it gets."
Totally, yeah.
Sorry, not as good as it got. Not as good as it got. It's more past tense, I guess.
Yeah.
Kieran Cowan said, "Eventually, he ate the dog out of spite."
Wow.
It's a dark sequel, yeah. Mike Carey said, "As Groot as it gets." The whole movie's a short starring Groot.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
from Avengers, I guess.
So Groot is a grumpy old racist.
Or a dog, but yes, I think the grumpy old racist works better, yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah. Imagine like Vin Diesel having to do the voice of Groot, but everything Groot says is a racist epitaph.
Well, no, because all Groot can say is "I am Groot."
Yeah.
But I would quite like it if like we can't understand exactly what he's saying, but what he's saying is incredibly racist all the time.
That's what I mean, yeah. The context is there. Like,
to be fair, that's very Monty Python.
yes, true. So that's it. Over to Twitter. Cinema Recall at cinema_recall said, it starts off as a review, then gets to a sequel. He said, "To be fair, Jack's character starts off as a racist homophobe, but by the end, he's a better person. The romance angle never worked for me. In the sequel, Helen Hunt's character's fetish is finding really old guys to fuck. This leads her to working in a hospice, where her lust for older men turns to necrophilia."
Oh dear.
Wow, cinema_recall got dark there. I like it.
Wow, can we bar somebody from the
No,
podcast?
I like that too much.
Oh god.
We have some more, don't worry, which are less disturbing. Nostalgicast at DW Lundberg said, "Carol finally reaches the end of her tether and murders Melvin out of pure rage.
I love it.
Followed by a lengthy trial in which Simon, Greg Kinnear, testifies of their long suffering at his hands. Carol winds up acquitted. End of movie."
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
And finally, Benny2TS said, "As good as it gets. An obsessive-compulsive killer clown bravely finds love with a bunch of teenage misfits."
Sure.
That's from the film It.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So yeah, it's a Jack Nicholson's character is the clown,
Yeah.
and he finds love with teenagers. So
Yeah.
that's that there. So thank you everybody for those sequel ideas. We ask for your listener submissions every week, a few days before we record, by putting posts out on Facebook and Twitter where you can post your ideas. So make sure you like and follow our pages if you don't want to miss out. To listen to more episodes of Beyond the Box Set, you can subscribe and browse our back catalogue on any podcasting platform, including iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and many others, all of which you can also leave us a 5-star review if you so feel. It really helps us to reach new listeners, so please do consider doing that. As mentioned earlier, we are also available on Patreon, which is exclusively for the people who would rate us more than 5 stars if they could. You can find all the links in the description below or at beyondtheboxset.com. And next week, Harry, it's over to you.
Well, next week, it's not quite December. It's November 30th. The episode will be coming out.
Okay.
But hey-ho.
Hey-ho?
Hey ho ho ho.
Hey ho ho ho.
It's Christmas season.
Okay, we're going there.
We're starting it.
We're hitting
So, to start off week 1 of Christmas, I think we're going to do 4 films maybe, and then probably do a 2020 roundup. God knows what
Sure.
that'll be, but we'll work that one out. So, Christmas episode 1 this year is going to be Black Christmas.
Have we not done that yet?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, it only came out last year.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of Black Mirror Christmas different thing. Okay.
As in the Black Mirror Christmas special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Black Christmas. I'm intrigued. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it was a Netflix film last year, maybe.
I'm here for that. Cool. Great. Fantastic. Listeners,
To be
join us.
honest, I think it might be based off a 1970s film. But
Yeah. Can we watch the 1970s film instead? I've heard that's really good.
okay, well, so your choices are the 1970s version, which has a 71% Rotten Tomatoes,
Mm-hmm.
or we have the 2019 version, which has a 38% Rotten Tomatoes.
I feel like I'll watch the original.
Okay, I'll read the synopses of both. So, 2019, with holidays round the corner, Riley and her friends prepare for a Christmas party. When a masked stalker targets girls and goes on a killing spree, they decide to fight back.
Okay.
And then for the other one, 1974, as winter break begins, a group of sorority sisters, including Jess, and why are they different names? And often, okay, we do 70s. We're definitely doing the 70s.
Great. Yay.
When one of the characters is referred to as the often inebriated Barb.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we're doing that one. Okay. So we're going to watch Black Christmas, the 70s edition.
Often inebriated Barb.
That is I aspire to that.
It's a terrible nickname, but at the same time, it's a really good nickname.
It's great. Yeah.
So yeah, next week for the first Christmas episode we're doing this year,
Ooh.
Black Christmas.
Ooh, exciting.
And for clarity, even though there is a 2019 version, not sure that's any good. It's rated terribly. We're going to be doing the original 70s
The
version.
1970s original starring Margot Kidder. I'm excited.
As inebriated Barb. Often inebriated
Often
Barb.
inebriated Barb. That is
What a character.
that is on my Grindr profile.
Anyway,
What it is?
the Barb bit as well?
Often inebriated Barb. It's my alter ego. It's my drag name. Yeah. Often inebriated Barb. Yeah.
What does Barb mean with your people's lingo?
No, it's just like that. It's my drag name. You know.
And that's your drag name.
Yeah. Often inebriated Barb.
It's not catchy.
No, but it's true, and isn't that more important in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, sure. Great. Well, thanks everybody, and join us next week for Black Christmas.
Yes.
See you in December.
See you in December.
Ish.
Ho ho ho. Thanks for listening. Bye.
I'm not going to sleep with you. I will never sleep with you. Never, ever. Not ever.